Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava skips Friday's practice amidst NIL contract negotiations.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal news. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football writer and recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. This is a special report here on Locked On the Portal. Nico Iamaleava, a kid that I got to know a little bit during the Battle Miami tournament a few years ago, he is holding out, apparently, based on the fact that he did not attend the Tennessee Volunteers Friday practice. The starting quarterback is the incumbent for this next season. He is the face of the Tennessee Volunteers football program. Heupel and the rest of his people are probably not real happy. But let me read you a comment that I just read from BallQuest. The writer in question is Brent Hubbs, and this is a really, really good point that he makes. Interestingly, Iamaleava was at a position group dinner at offensive coordinator Joey Housel's house on Thursday night before going AWOL on Friday for practice. Basically, nobody saw this coming. There have been rumors since December, so I am told, for whatever that is worth, that something could be going on with the NIL. Maybe his camp, and I don't know if it's Nico specifically or somebody else, believes he deserves more money. That's their business. But if you go AWOL for a practice, I don't see that ending well for any party involved. And allow me to deliberate why. Number one, his goal eventually is to play in the National Football League. If he thinks missing practice at the college level is going to endear him, or anybody in his camp that thinks that, they are sadly mistaken. It is not about talent, especially at quarterback. If you attempt to embarrass management at any level of the National Football League, it will not go well. And I can assure you, that's not going to go well with Tennessee fans, coaches, members of that locker room, etc. They're going to be different people, and it's random, that are going to be very upset about this. Tennessee is a very proud institution. They are proud people. They love their Vols. You got allegedly $8 million out of high school to go play in Knoxville. Fair or not, you are going to be viewed in a different light because you're the Tennessee quarterback. Peyton Manning played there. They have rich history. They put 110,000 people in the stands. That is a rabid atmosphere. Therefore, expectations are ramped up. Rightfully so. And now you're in the midst of contract negotiations and surprisingly missed practice on Friday. Okay. Couple other points. If you're going to hold out, forget the whole practice thing. If you're going to hold out, there needs to be definitive reasons for why. Timing, leverage, statistics, winning, all those things need to be on your side. You can say from a leverage standpoint, Nico Iamaleava has the advantage because you're at the end of spring practice. What's Tennessee going to do? Because continuity is key between quarterback and tight end, quarterback and running back, tight ends, running backs and receivers all working together on a passing play. Anything you could imagine, it's all true. But that also goes back to the point about the NFL, your locker room, your coaches, your fans. You're holding them hostage, whether that's your intent or not. Is that going to go well? Especially when you consider Nico's stats. This is just from Pro Football Focus, and I want to read this off. You can take this any way you want, but if you look at his statistics, and I'll put these up right now for those of you that are on YouTube, and I'll explain it definitively for those of you that are not, but I'll share my screen here. This is not a good sign, folks. You cannot be in this scenario at all. Nico, when he is under pressure, according to PFF last year, his passing percentage, well, in 28% of his dropbacks, he was under pressure. 37.5% completion rate. That's pretty bad. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He was only 21 of 56. When he was kept clean, he was pretty good, 68.8%. But again, going back to under pressure, he was 4.9 yards per attempt. He's just not good at it. To me, that alone right there, those money downs, where on third downs where they blitz you or they catch you off guard, you've got to be a playmaker. Yet you're in contract negotiations. I didn't realize he was that porous at this particular stat, but again, that's not good. When he is blitzed, he's a different player in some regards, but it's not so much that. It's just when somebody's around his feet, it's worse. He's a little bit worse when he's blitzed than when he's not, but it's really not a big deal. He just feels and he's not as accurate. That is not the definition, in my opinion, of a young man that should be in contract negotiations after getting $8 million or anything close to that. Finally, he's going into his third year. This is going to make it really awkward because Tennessee's expected to be a team competing for the playoff and making a run in the playoff this next year, yet he's doing that. I don't see how this isn't going to cause some cracks in the foundation, if you will. Not just for him, but for Tennessee's program, because it brings up this big question. Let's just use Tennessee as the obvious barometer for the rest of college football. But what happens when a quarterback sits out? As a program, you're at a really bad spot, especially, again, the timing. You're at the end of spring. You missed all those reps. If you knew a guy was gone, he got hurt or he transferred, whatever, and he gets that decision out of the way, or that happens, maybe the first spring practice, guy breaks his ankle, you can move another quarterback into the mix. But if you have that happen at the end of spring, how does it? Tennessee is in a horrible spot as a staff. It's not fair to any of the other quarterbacks in the room because they just missed out on the chance to be the number one and compete for that job. This is really, really awkward. Now, to be fair, I don't know the full circumstances, and that's fine. If Tennessee in any way had missed payments or anything like that, everything I've said up to this point, if you want, you can call it null and void. Highly doubt that's the case, but again, just want to mention it. When I come back, I want to give my overall take on why this is an unprecedented circumstance that will have ripple effects throughout college football for a very, very long time. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be one that is very friendly for a lot of programs. That's next here on the Portal Podcast. This is a message from our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now taxes, it's about matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find every deduction, every form, and every investment, everything needed for 100% accuracy. Also, you get the most money back. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. This is taxes. Get an expert now with TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. If in any way, shape, or form Nico Iamaleava and his camp win in this negotiation, it will be bad for the majority of college football. Let me define that for you. Fans, TV networks, definitely the people in those football offices. You spend all that time recruiting them, setting them up, etc., then they cut the cord. That's a problem. And again, specifically at this late juncture of spring ball, this is not when you want to do it. This needed to be done in February at the latest. We're in the middle of frickin' April. This is rough. So, where does that leave the rest of college football with using the Tennessee Volunteers as an example? In a really bad spot. Tennessee has big NIL. You got the House settlement that's close to being done. Everybody's kind of curious about how much money is going to be around. What if somebody else takes Nico's approach here? Maybe a quarterback like Altmaier at Illinois. I don't know who. Anybody could do it. After spring's over or close to it like this, there is some leverage in a way for that season at least. It's not a good idea, as I went through already earlier in this show, but there can be ramifications for your roster, how you're viewed. Because if the school says, get bent, hit the portal, That could also have ramifications, again, for fans, for coaches, for the school itself, how it's viewed. You're not serious about football. There are going to be fans that don't want to spend any more money and donate to the school. We're not going to win. We don't have a quarterback. Any direction you go, it's probably going to come up bad for college football. Fans, coaches, everybody. This is rough. If you're going to renegotiate, you got to have the stats on your side. I don't see that with Nico. I think we kind of went through that. You got to be able to back up the timing, to justify it so it's good for all parties. And that's not really the case. And then finally, how do you do that with your teammates? I think that's the one that's really unusual. I don't know any of those Tennessee players in the relationship. Again, I've met Nico, and he's a good guy. No doubt about that. I've met him, been around him. He's funny. But if you think that that is going to be 100% okay locker room with this, if he does come back to Tennessee, I got another thing coming for you. I got some swampland I'd like to sell you. There is no way in the world. This will not end well for Tennessee, and any quarterback that it does, something similar to what Nico is doing, and again, could be his camp, it will not end well for that school. There are going to be splinters in terms of what's happening. The fracture could be in many different directions. It could be deeper at one school than another, but it will not be the same with the players and coaches, fans, etc. It's going to cause problems. This is a monitored situation by everybody. The New York Post, VolQuest, you name it. Anybody that follows college football is talking about this. But let's revisit after the weekend. Hopefully everything is being blown out of proportion, and I can retract this because there was a logical explanation for this. Right now, I don't really think that's the case. And I think college football is headed in a very bad direction based on what Nico Iamaleava is doing. I hope and I pray that I am wrong. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate you stopping in to get all your latest recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal news. Please like and subscribe and give us a 5-star review. If you're listening to this podcast, we will see you again soon.